Look at you. Jeez, that's a smile of the horse, isn't
Isn't
it?
it? Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at those. I'm
Beautiful.
actually very happy with that.
Went to Turkey for those.
I wish, fella. Look at that.
The
And
hair
you're
and the teeth.
What a waste having you on TV when I've got these. Look at that.
A face for radio, man. Face for radio. Here, right, let's get started. Hello and welcome along to another episode of The Offload with Donncha and Tommy. Brought to you by 15 Kings. Of course,
Go on,
it is
15
coming up to
Kings.
Christmas. 6 weeks of Christmas. Get the presents in if you want to look good for the old Christmas party. xvkings.com. There you go. Dunners, you could do with that. You're looking good in the gear.
I
just
look
shame
good in the
about
gear, Tommy.
The hair, the teeth, the sweat going off. You
The
stress?
sweat. You're some clown. You know that. But we know this at this point. So basically, we said we'd record at half, and you've ran me ragged trying to change the background around so that people would think we're in the same place. People know you live in Belfast and I live in Cork. You know what I mean? So you're kind of, the paint colours, they're going to work it out that we're actually sitting beside each other. We're not.
Exactly. So we did want to record at 5:30. It's now 5:02. 25 minutes it's taken you to do that.
Where do you get all these little knick-knack stuff? See the things in the background there? Is that you? The little manine, the figurine.
This is a grog. I got this when I was in Wales.
I've seen them in Wales. That's
I've got one
very
in,
good.
Got one, the Lions jersey, the Ospreys jersey, and cool, aren't they? Although I kind of think that if somebody ever broke into my house, I'd use the nose to attack them. Look at the size of that thing.
That is a sharp nose.
That's a hammer right there.
That's class.
It's such an honour to get one of these grogs. Very few non-Welsh players get one. And I posed for it. I had to sit up in the studio and they did a model and everything else. And I was so happy with it. But the nose.
The nose.
They've hammered me.
The nose. Do you know what? They probably thought that as well. They were like, okay, it's really good now, but he is Irish, so give him a sharp nose at the end.
Exactly. Did you ever get one?
No, I didn't.
Okay, we'll get on to the grogs.
I did get a painting one time of myself that, honestly, it's up my attic. Actually, did you see Amy Huberman put up one of Brian?
Yeah.
Like, isn't it very nice when someone sends you a gift, but like you're like, oh, Jeannie, Ned. It's like when your kids bring stuff home from school.
I have a massive portrait that they did in school. Some school sent it to me, and it is amazing, the detail on it. But like, I can't put it up in the house. Do you know, the kids see enough of me. Right, Lucy sees enough of me. Do you know, I can't put it above the mantelpiece. Yeah, thanks for that,
brilliant.
but I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to use that. Anyway, how's things?
Yeah, things are good. It's obviously been a busy enough all week, Tommy, with rugby and stuff like that. How are you getting on?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, no, it has flipping. Yeah, we will discuss obviously New Zealand and that loss. We'll kind of actually talk about it from our own perspectives on the pod tonight, talking about we've both been a part of some pretty bad losses and been, I suppose, criticised in the media and stuff. So we'll kind of give it from our players' point of view, put ourselves in the heads, the mindset, and in the change room of what the lads are going through this week as well. And of course, the general election is all over the media at the minute as well. So we'll kind of have a bit of discussion who we thought would be good in politics, who was made for it, who wasn't. So we'll discuss that later on in the show. But here, yes, after that match on Friday, and we will talk about that, but I was so depressed. It just was such a damp squib, and it didn't get off the weekend off the perfect start. But do you ever play golden oldies rugby or retired lads rugby?
No, I have zero interest. If I wanted to still play, I would try to tog out for Con and even be competitive at junior 3 level. The idea of playing rugby for socialising and fun, I don't understand.
Okay, well, I hear you, because I'm pretty much the exact same. Although junior 3 for Con actually is probably your level. But I am patron with this team called the Perennials, right? Perennials Rugby Club.
Patron?
Yeah, I know.
What does that mean?
So it's like a charity, right? So they raise money for charity. You have to be over 35 or 40 plus, but there's lads up into 60s and nearly 70s who are playing. And they play against clubs all over Ulster, but they play against Ballina. We're going down every year. They play against Monaghan. in Monaghan Rugby Club, and that's the Christmas trip. And literally 2 buses come down. It's full of lads, gin and tonics on the bus on the way down. Brilliant. The oldest person on the bus has to go down the middle of the aisle with a trolley of gin and tonic, handing it out to everybody. And then when you get to Monaghan Rugby Club, they have red wine and cheese, and you're there horsing into you.
There's your pre-match meal.
Honestly, it is so. It's amazing. So there was a match at the weekend. They played against Belfast Harlequins on Sunday, and Chris Henry was playing for the Perennials. Andrew Trimble was meant to be playing for them, and it's just feel good, happy rugby. They're throwing it out there, and it kind of reminds you why we get into the game, for the love of it, and away from all the pressure and the rubbish of Friday night.
It can get lost so much. You're right. Actually, that is... I always find that, though, Tommy, going up to the club. My kids, Robin and Jake, are playing up in Cork Con, but just even hanging around for the senior games afterwards, it's the same faces all the time. It's the same people that care about things. And, yeah, I think very much we can get lost in it, can't we?
You do.
But, like,
club rugby is where we started, and that's the way, like, that's the epitome of the lifeblood of rugby. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a worry how professional the game gets, what might happen club rugby, but at the same time, when you go back and you're like that, patrons, it's some or perennials, it's some crack.
That sounds so. I love a few things because, you know, in senior rugby or professional rugby, the youngest fella has to do everything. I like this with the perennials. Let's absolutely, like, the old goats get it. You know what I mean? Nobody works harder.
Honestly, and the amount of gin, they don't go handy on the measures. I mean, they're great because they're the Alacadoos. They don't have to stand on the side. I tell you, the standard of rugby, particularly that Monaghan Christmas trip, and everybody has to wear like one of those shit shirts for after the game. But everybody goes down with the shirt and the tie and the blazer. It's proper old school.
Can I ask you, are you going to play against Monaghan? Like, are you going to play with Monaghan?
So so it's normally 420s. Now I've only done it twice, but I normally play 120 for the Perennials and 120 for Monaghan. And last year and a couple of years ago, I got to go on the second row with my dad. So it's amazing. Yes. So me and Dad were in the second row, and my brother was number 8 with his head between our arses. So I mean, brilliant. Like, that's special.
That's
really cool.
Class. Yeah.
Really cool.
I'd rather tug out in the row with your dad, to be honest with you, than having you in there. What a waste.
To be fair, it wasn't much use, and he wasn't much use himself either. It runs in the family. Actually, what the problem was when I played for the Perennials against Monaghan, it was the chance for my brother to absolutely nail me.
No way.
Anytime I touched the ball, he was boosh. I absolutely smoked me a load of times, and then he actually made a break, and I was kind of corner flagging, coming across to get him, and he literally palmed me off, literally palm in my face, pushed me down to the ground, scored under the post. So brilliant. 1-0, David. Well done.
There you go. Take it away. Take that win.
Here, so talk about family or whatever else. You were there watching your girls. They had a big football match this week, did they not?
They did. Skeena Skull final. I'll be honest, it was down in Parky Queeve, or Super Value Parky Queeve as it's known now. Tommy, what a day. What a day. Now, they won, right? They got 2 goals. It finished 2-2 to 3 points. They got 2 goals in the last minute of extra time. Wow. It was so, like, God, I'm not just saying it. You felt for Watergrass Hill. It was just, there was nothing in it. But there was 4 schools on the go, so 2 playing and then 2 coming in to play after them, and the atmosphere was lit
in Parky Queeve.
In Parky Queeve, small little schools, just everyone had made banners, everyone doing chants. It was like, do you remember the old National League basketball stuff? Just it was heaven to see it, and I was actually blown away by how noisy these girls and boys schools can be.
Like, how many people are you talking?
Oh, well, in Our Lady of Lourdes, our kids' school, there's probably, I think it's 230, maybe 240. I could have the numbers wrong. But there was that many kids. But then some of the junior school mightn't have come, kind of like senior and junior infants. So, but it's just their ability to make a racket. Does it make you think about, say, the atmosphere at the Aviva on Friday night? Because obviously you had 50,000 at that. And there's a lot of question marks. Obviously, it's a Friday night match. You think people are coming from work. They're in the pub before 8 o'clock kickoff. You think this is going to be rocking.
But everything I've kind of seen in the papers and people talk about it, like the atmosphere was disappointing. Like you're talking about a bunch of school kids. Like, do we need to get those school kids to go to the international match? Because I remember growing up, did you used to go to the schoolboy stand in the old Lansdowne Road?
Yeah, honestly, I'll never forget it. I went there to watch Ireland versus Zimbabwe in that World Cup, and Brian Robinson got a hat-trick. And there was a moment, a big thing back then was to throw toilet paper onto the pitch. Yeah, remember it, yeah. So you'd hold the end of the toilet paper and you'd throw it. And I remember this man beside me going, what are you doing? Go get that. And I remember being so embarrassed having to go out on the scurry out onto the pitch and not totally on the pitch, but just on the edge and pick it up. To get the toilet roll. Yeah, I was there. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. But like, I learned in those moments the nearly little bits of respect that you have to have, how to hush for the kicker. I remember, I'll never forget it coming home on the train. I swear, Tommy, I was there. I want to play for Ireland. I would love to run out there. Did you go?
Exact same. Like that was my early. Now my first memory is I went to Ireland against Fiji, I think it was, and there was a load of Monaghan fellas, and two of the older lads went off to the toilet at one stage, and I was sitting up in the stand with my dad, and two of them came back with two bog rolls and launched them, and these were two of the grown-up lads. But I mean, that's what everybody did. But like, that was my first time ever going to see Ireland, and I just remember thinking that was the funniest thing ever. But then I used to go down to matches all the time, and my dad would go off with his Monaghan mates. I would go off in the schoolboy stand, and there would always be loads of people. And like, I remember it was like 12 quid a ticket or something, you know, like it was dirt cheap, but the atmosphere in there, and I just will never forget, a little bit like you, that's where the love of wanting to play for Ireland, like that was the dream. And the anthems, that's where I learned the national anthem, that's where I learned to like the singing the songs, and I kind of miss that. We don't get that anymore, and I kind of think, you know, say that basin bit at the bottom of the Aviva Stadium or something, like, wouldn't it be amazing if they kind of took out a load of seats and put in students or young people allowed to kind of really just let rip in there?
Tommy Bowe, there's the suggestion of a lifetime. So you're talking about if the Aviva looked like a bedpan, that's the shallow bit at the end. Make that the kind of girls and boys, schoolboys and schoolgirls section, and even students, and just general crack.
How good? How good would that
amazing. Be? Well, it badly needed it. Like, I'm not just saying that. We brought Sophie. She's 14, and like she's into rugby, but there wasn't a whole lot in it for her. If you're watching the match there, she was quite bored. Whereas if you're chatting with your friends, if there's a bit of crack, if they're like, that section was always trying to start a Mexican wave.
Always.
Yeah, but it never caught on. Like, the Aviva Lansdowne Road doesn't do Mexican waves, but you would not stop trying. And I was just looking at her; she was bored to tears.
3, you know what I mean? 2, 1. But I always remember, because we've scored down in that end, and it's a bit dead as a player.
Oh, it's horrible.
Like, there's literally 12 rows in front of you.
I have an example of it. I don't know which game it was, right? But I wasn't having the best of games. So when we were down the far end, all you could hear is, you know, proper stadium noise, that kind of just really unbelievable. But I remember we were back behind our post, and all I could hear was, "Come on, O'Callaghan, you've been useless." And like, I could have honestly been down on the back pitch in Caen or Kanturk or anywhere, and you're like, oh man, get us back up this end where it's...
You used to never get that because you were in the thick of it. See, standing on the wing in there, I used to get that all the time. Wakey, Tommy! Tommy, catch this one. Honestly, and you're trying to not look at them and give them attention, but somebody says something and you hear everybody laughing around you, and you're trying to focus on the game, but it's so quiet, and I clearly heard him shouting.
That actually is so hard, because when Munster played under Rob Penny, we tried to play this wide game plan. So if you won the line-out, you stayed on the edge, and then you were meant to be there for crossfield kicks. Oh my goodness, you should have heard people in Thomond Park about me holding wit. Get around the corner, O'Callaghan, you lazy bollocks. Will you get into the forwards, you flute?
To be fair, I remember that game plan and leaving you on the far touchline for crossfield. I mean, you remember the crossfield kicks you see there? Like,
Honestly,
it'd be that little bit too far and you're legging it, going as hard as you can, and there's not a chance you're getting a crossfield kick.
I was chasing crossfield kicks like Mr. Blobby. It was like, there was no hope of me catching them. And do you know what? I remember going into Rob Penny at that point, and I was there like, Rob, like, I need to get around the corner. Like, I haven't the skill set. And to be fair to the man, he was like, we're going to teach you. You're going to learn it. Keep going. Little did he know. You know what I mean? He should have put Donncha Ryan and straight in.
Big time. Well, listen, at the touchlines, I do remember some of the abuse I used to get as well. And honestly, you try to block it out, but it just keeps coming. What about even before the match? Like, because they were trying to G it up, the music and the fireworks. But like
and
Kevin the Carrot, like an Aldi carrot, like that's the Irish mascot now. Is that where we're at? Is it Kevin the Carrot?
Kevin the Carrot from the Aldi ad?
Yeah.
O'Connell's mate.
Yeah. He's the mascot. Yeah.
Will you go out of it, Tommy?
I tell you, Kevin the Carrot was walking around the
Christmas carrot on the Christmas ad.
Yeah.
He's our mascot.
That is the Irish team mascot. I mean, is that where we're at?
Yeah. And how did we get to this point? Like, was there a trial? Did Sparky and Leo and Oscar and what's your man, Eddie the Eagle get it?
Eddie the Eagle and Connacht, yeah.
Well,
I have no idea.
Yeah, brilliant. I like it though. Yeah, like, why not?
Well, you can imagine kids probably do enjoy that, but considering there's probably very few kids at an 8 o'clock match, I just thought, like, is that where we're at now? Where Aldi we're getting the mascot sponsored to go on the pitch, you know?
Jeez. Sorry, but he was firing off T-shirts, wasn't he? Like, I know people can be hard and say, oh, we're selling out to the corporate world, but that's quite entertaining. A carrot firing T-shirts into the crowd. Like, genuinely, you win and everyone goes, geez, that was the best bit. Do you remember the one there? Hit Tommy in the face, you man, Kevin the Carrot.
To be fair, it probably was the highlight of the whole night as well.
Oh, nuts.
Do you know, there's been a bit of controversy, a few question marks as well. Michael D. Higgins, the president, comes out. Now, I know Jim Hamilton has kind of criticised this. And it is the president of the country. And of course, it's a hugely respectful thing. And it is amazing that he is ill. And the cheer around the stadium that he gets when he comes out. But, like, the poor fella is not the most mobile anymore. And it took a long time to get through all the team. And, I always remember as a player, like, it is a thing that we should be very proud of, but at the same time, do we really need it for every match?
Oh, Tommy, wash your filthy little mouth out. Are you genuinely being serious?
Well, I don't know. I kind of just think, like, don't get me wrong, the president is amazing to meet the president.
Of course. It's an unbelievable
for every match, I don't know if it's really needed.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long. Like, I remember it used to be the president, like Mary McAleese would come out. She'd shake everybody's hands. And then you'd have to wait for her to walk all the way up into the stand to get to her seat.
And rightly so. It's our president.
I know, but it takes so long.
What are you saying? We should put her on the back of Kevin the Carrot and he legs her up there or something like that. It's an honour. You need ceremony. You need tradition. Otherwise, like, what have we got? We're like... I worry about us at the moment. We're bitching and moaning about the haka, and now we're bitching and moaning about an unbelievable honour of meeting the president of the country. Like, do you know what actually took so long about it? The New Zealanders being so incredibly humble and great with our president.
Like, they were, to be fair. And I get what you're saying about the respect, and we don't, like... It is tradition to go and meet the president. But sometimes, and I just thought with the whole atmosphere, you had the president came out, you had obviously Ireland have two anthems. You had the New Zealand anthem, then you had the New Zealand haka, which the sound wasn't up. You couldn't hear the haka. Like, it just took an awful long time to get to kick off.
Yeah, it was disappointing as well that only the Maori part of the anthem was played. They didn't play the English part, which was, you know what I mean, when you're hosting. And I was having to pop off England last week, the way they were playing their anthem, you would be disappointed that stuff like that happens.
Yeah, well, you did flag that, to be fair, at the time, because of course you did say that about England. I wonder actually if the New Zealand people have an issue. Listen, it was just a question what you thought, but you always enjoyed meeting the president, like having that shake of hands.
One of the greatest honours, and I actually felt like, I know this sounds a bit weird, but I was representing. Like, he was shaking my hand, or Mary McAleese was shaking my hand to put me into battle. You know what I mean? And I took it that way. I remember once getting highly offended that someone obviously shook hands with our president with, you remember the handball wax?
Oh, yes. Well, exactly. Your hands would be cut. That's why I used to never shake any of the forwards' hands before matches. They used to always
you could have done with it, fella.
High-fiving. And like, your hand would be stuck to their
Explain
hand.
what this is. So this was used by handballers in different countries. It's like it's as good as glue.
It's bloody glue, and you forwards cake your hands in it. Like, you never touched the bloody ball. I don't know what the hell you put it on for.
Running around like Mr. Blobby. Do you know what? That was my only hope, Tommy. That spraying myself with enough of that stuff, and it could stick to me. You know, like Velcro. So the crossfield kick, it just hits off my arse and it sticks on it and we run on.
But that's really interesting. I wonder if the president actually does go around shaking people's hands and loads of them have that sticky spray on them, and he spends the next 10 minutes trying to wash it off. Tell me,
you've it sorted anyway. Kevin the Carrot on an electric scooter with Michael D fist pumping everyone all the way down the line, because then his hand doesn't get covered in the handball wax and we're all away. Hey!
And the schoolboy stand, all the kids in the background shouting abuse at me behind the posts.
Hitting them with toilet rolls.
Here, listen, let's talk about the weekend. We won't go into the match, but Ireland were 19 games unbeaten in the Aviva Stadium. They haven't lost in 4 or 5 years. They've incredible run of games and victories. And of course, they've had a couple of upsets over the last couple of months. But the backlash to this one, and it was, listen, I found it a really difficult game to get going. Ireland just were not at the races, I didn't think. But the backlash and the question marks, there's a lot of negativity out there after it. And people I'm expecting Ireland to bounce back massively this weekend. But from your point of view, like, we've both been on the receiving end of bad performances, or, you know, where things haven't gone well for us, and the media and Joe Public is having a go at you. Like, what is it like? What's been going through those lads' heads this week?
Yeah, it's the toughest part, Tommy, for me. I'll be honest with you. I took no real joy in the wins. They were great to get, but I was happier that I avoided the feeling the lads have this week.
Yeah.
And the way they lost this one will hurt a little bit more. This one is actually a scar, because you didn't fire a punch. You didn't go out there, and like we're saying, your time is finite in an Irish shirt. You know what I mean? I know we look at some of these players and we think they're around for ages, but you know better than anyone, it goes like that, you know, your career. But I feel for them, because a bit like that, I think they underperformed. They played poorly, but once, and all of a sudden the pile on them is, I think it's over the top. It's really bad, and I just thought it was unfair for what they have done in the past. They have enough credit. They have enough. Honestly, think of that beautiful day in South Africa during the summer when, like, we were all on air over them. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden we're just baiting the life out of them because.
But what? So the players. Because I used to not read the papers. I used to avoid the papers like the plague. Social media was obviously about. I knew if I had a bad game, I just would not open Twitter. And sometimes you'd open it up and you'd see, I think the max notifications that came up was 200, and it was 200 plus. And I knew that this isn't going to be good. And I just close it and step away. But in the day of social media nowadays, the newspapers, like, those lads won't be able to get away from it. No, listen, I got a 0 out of 10 in the papers once.
You did.
You did. France.
The worst we'd ever seen before that was 3 out of 10. I think it was Frankie Sheen.
Yeah, well, thanks, Neil Francis. And do you know what? Right, so it was
Hold
in
on.
France.
What did he say beside your 0? These are what we used to call the slating ratings. They basically they give them to the players after the match. So that whichever journalist watches the game and then just basically picks a number and dishes it out. And you got one. Is it Neil Francis gave you a 0?
Frano gave me a 0 out of 10. You'd think at least you get a 1 for running out onto the pitch.
You should get a 1 for togging out.
Exactly. Do you mean? And I didn't even think I played that bad.
Do you know what I hate?
Out. I remember Olivia Mania tried to tackle me, ran through, and he caught me on the chin. And listen, it wasn't a good game. I know it wasn't a good game. We were like 40 points down at half time. And after 10 minutes into the second half, I get taken off, the winger. So you know it's not good. Trimby then comes on, plays well, and Ireland actually come right back into it. I think we lost 40 points to 30 or something. So, but I knew after that game, right, I was like, okay, things haven't gone well here. Keep the head down. Don't read the papers. Don't really talk to anyone. Don't make eye contact with the coaches. So I remember I went out for a few beers that night, tried to drown my sorrows, back on the flight, back to Dublin, into Killiney Castle, I think we were at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, just thinking, right, just get to training Monday morning and we can rectify this. And I remember I got a text message from one of my mates back home and he goes, here, mate, don't listen to that bollocks Neil Francis. And you can't get a message like that and not message him back going, why? Why? What did he say? He goes, sure, didn't he just give you a 0 out of 10 in the paper?
But the thing is, Tommy, I always found that it never really affected us. You know what I mean? I remember that game. You were never a 0 out of 10, but it hurts your family, doesn't it? And
that's it. The family's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, and that matters to them an awful lot. And then you start worrying because they're worried about it. You're there, don't worry about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they've started doing the ratings before the match. Before I retired, I got a 4 out of 10 before the thing even kicked off. Like, how can you do this?
It's a race. It's got to the stage now where it's a race who can get the ratings up quick enough. And it's impossible to gauge how all 15 or 23 players are going in such a quick state. You know, it's an impossible task for them. I actually don't envy the journalists having to do it because I know,
Tommy, don't you get soft. If you're a journalist and you're at ratings, you're codding yourself.
But they have to do it, Dunners. It's their job.
They don't have to do it.
Listen,
they're like
I
predictions.
guarantee all supporters, and particularly supporters who are only into the game just to see how it goes, go to the back page and go through the ratings and see who's played well and who hasn't. And I think it's unfair. But I agree with you. I never paid attention to it. But it was the family, it was your friends, and it was them who got really upset about it. And I remember like going through phases and games where my family got really, my sister got really upset about it. And it does. Yeah. And I think for some of the lads at the weekend who have been used to such highs, they haven't had many big blows like this. I worry how some of them would be dealing with it mentally and in camp and even talking to their wives and families.
Yeah, very true. But I think they get to see the true colours now. You see who's with you. Like I always found that. You know your real mates. Like you go in after winning a Grand Slam, Tommy, and your phone is buzzing. Remember one time, one of the lads, but I'm trying to make the point, when you lose, nothing. There is radio silence. And the ones that reach out to you in those moments, you were there like, that's a person that has my back.
Do you send a message to someone they've had a bad game?
Yeah, I would try to.
What would you say? Chin up, lad. It wasn't too bad.
Hold on for the ratings.
O'Callaghan, you bollocks. You're having a shocker.
I'll never forget. Honestly, I think we were in Scotland one time and there was no text messages when I got back to the phone, and there was one from Jenny saying, will you pick up a Toblerone for my dad on the way home in the flight? Nothing. I think Phil Vickery has a brilliant story after the first test. Like no one texted him, Barry's mom saying, I still love you. It's tough.
I remember we were interviewing one of the hurlers the other day, and I must remember his name.
Richie Hogan.
No, he was. Was it Richie Hogan who got the red
new
card?
book out.
Yes, he got the red card. In the 2019 All-Ireland final. So it was up against Tipperary. Kilkenny obviously were playing so well. It was so tight. And he caught one of the Tip players with, I think, his shoulder on the chin. Red card. Anyway, it's your worst nightmare in a final. And obviously he said like he just went to the change room, head down, didn't want to talk to any, almost in a bit of a phase. And he brought out a book, and I was reading the book, and it said that he went back to the team hotel. They had to go down to the big gala dinner or whatever else. And he was obviously just in a bit of a sulk and fed up, not my talk. And his girlfriend, who's now his wife, kind of said to him, first word said to him, "Now I know you haven't had a great day, but I need to put some tan in my back. Will you help me?"
Doesn't that save you?
That's kick you back to reality again, isn't it?
But wouldn't you actually hug her for that? You know what I mean? For just actually saying, you know what I mean? Like, feck all the noise. You know,
exactly.
Oh,
and he said that. He said it was brilliant. He said, like, I was just in such a slump and so disappointed. And sometimes something like that, as outrageous and as funny as it is, but that was important for her at the time, because she was going to think, and sometimes you just got to be not selfish and just get on with it.
Agreed. But the thing about it is, Tommy, only the people in the circle know the pain. I remember crashing out on that World Cup, losing to Argentina. Actually, I know we're going to be chatting about them shortly. But I remember Contaponi giving it to me. "You'll be on your couch this time tomorrow night."
Yeah.
And I remember kind of going, "What's he on about?" One of these sledgings and it isn't until it lands. You know what I mean? When you sit your ass on your couch and you're like, "Oh, you know, that one really hurt." But I'll never forget, I used to room with Raj, and some of his family came up and they were like, "I know how tough it is for you now, lads." And you know what I mean? Like, we're all in it with you. And then the door closed and the two of us just looked at each other and we were like, people haven't a notion, man. They don't know it. They don't know the work that goes in. They don't know all the time and effort. And it's wrong to even put it down to that, but the embarrassment of some of that stuff is really tough to take.
It's true. And I always found the week after that, when the lads are hurting, that's when, like, I would imagine there were a few bust-ups in training this week. I'd imagine that, like, the energy is high, that there's a real niggle in training this week. They're out to kill.
I agreed. But there's also blood in the water now as well. If you're a young player or you're someone that feels this is the time, that's probably why they end up in rows.
It's their chance,
Yeah. Like, I remember we had lost and coming off the back of a loss and everything's open. But I remember in one of the training sessions, I was subbing behind Malcolm O'Kelly. And the whole session, all I wanted to do was fight him. I kept trying to trip him, push him, just any reason to show Eddie that...
Exact same. You know, like, if you were Ryan Baird, for instance, you're like, this is my chance. What he would have been upset he didn't get picked, but I was the exact same. That was my way of motivating myself to get myself out of the slump. If I had a bad game, I'd see somebody who was looking for my position and go after them, you know, and just be like that. You need to find that bit of motivation to give yourself that bit of confidence that if you can do a job on them in training during the week, you're showing the coach that you still have it, but also you're reminding yourself. And it creates that bit of niggle. I remember, like, sometimes, you know, even the backs, you know, to be like squaring up to each other, be like sparks flying, and it's good. That's what the coaches, I'd say, are. Andy Farrell is drumming that in this week, kind of just turning the dial.
He's done an incredible thing with even selection, like leaving Bundyaki out, leaving Henderson out. Like he's kind of opened the door a little bit. If you were, I know, like, everyone played poorly, but not as well as they would have liked. But if you see someone like Bundy being left out, it gives a kick up the ass to the whole squad. Yeah. You know what I mean? That could have been any of you. I remember Decky did it really smartly before we played Scotland when we won a Grand Slam, your try that day. Do you remember for the...
Oh, that try, yeah. Remember it well.
That old chestnut.
09, but first Grand Slam, 61 years. Yeah,
there you go. Did I ever thank you for that? Thank you, Tommy. But do you remember before the Scottish game, he left out
Paddy Wallace,
Jamie.
Yeah, there was three, and Stringer, was it? Or Moss.
he left out Tomas and put in Stringer.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, honestly, the whole squad went, what's going on here?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I love...
On that, I'd like to just bring it in quickly because he's in the news at the minute as well. Gatland. Remember the time, like in 2013, when Gatland dropped O'Driscoll and there was uproar over it. Yeah. But sometimes whenever you drop a player of that ilk, it sends such a ripple through the squad. No. But you don't like, I mean, you don't, but like when Mike Phillips, now, because I do have to mention this. So obviously Wales lost to Fiji at the weekend. Huge upset. Wales, I think, are on 10 losses in a row. Gatland is a coach. Gatland has done such amazing things with Wales over the years. And like, I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to be coaching this Welsh team at the minute. It is a difficult squad to look after. But Mike Phillips, who was such a stalwart for him, who Gats looked after, I would have thought, an awful lot at certain times. But Phil's going, lots of positives, yeah. You're on 600 grand a year and don't even have to win. Clap, clap. How the WRU bring this guy back is just nuts. Laughing all the way to the bank. Wow. He's tweeted as well, talking about his family. It makes him cringe. Did he speak to me at the end of my career? Did he F? I won for this guy. He's only out for himself. You know, I don't know. Like, I don't really agree with this. You know what I mean? I think that he was a coach. Where's the respect in that? They've gone through an awful lot together. But I know, like, listen, I have a lot of respect for Gats. He looked after me and he was great to me.
He loved you. He loved... No, Tommy, you were a good player, man, and he was right to love you, but he loved you, man. If you said to Gatland, I'm thinking of playing 10, he'd be there you go, Tommy boy.
Yeah, but he loved Mike Phillips as well. Right, and massively loved him, and he's gone after him there. And like, yes, maybe he was a bit ruthless when his career ended, but every coach is like, Joe Schmidt was the head coach when Ireland and I finished. I mean, he was ruthless. I never spoke to him. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you know, they're there to do a job, and at the same time, if we think it's just all respect and looking after each other, it's a sport, it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course, and it is sad when you see stuff like that going on, because you would think they've had too many great times together. But we know Mike Phillips as well. He's passionate too. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think he's having a dig just to cause trouble. I think he's hurting as well and saying...
For Wales, like, you were involved with the Lions in 2009 with Gats.
Oh, you're fishing here now. Look at you. Ooh, look at you, reporter. Tommy Bowe. So, have you been chatting to some of your Ireland AM friends about how to fish a story out? I'll give you the story, Tommy, you little rat.
Go on. So what happened?
I subbed for the first test in South Africa. So normally the kind of unwritten rule is if you are moved in any way within the squad, you get tipped off. So,
what if you get dropped or something?
If you get dropped, you get a tap on the shoulder.
In the Lions now, because Gatland is not known to give a tip off.
Yeah, but I actually thought that, honestly, I think that is basic manners. I think that's basic manners at club level. Or what's the name of your guys? The Penguins? Or what are you called? The Perennials.
Tips off. I got to the... Well, it's a bit of respect, to be fair, to know,
Oh, of course, yeah. They named the squad at 6:30. There was, do you remember this? We'd go out late, they'll name the squad, they were having team meetings, we'd the day off, name the squad quite late, and we'd all go out for dinner together. So I hadn't got pulled for the chat in any way, so I was there like, same old. You're obviously on the bench, you know what I mean? So got in, I was sitting down in the meeting room, and they got to number 4, and they went Simon Shaw, and I was... Woohoo! Go on, Shawsy, you beaut. And then I was thinking to myself, that's a bit harsh on Alan Wynne-Jones, like, you know what I mean? Straight out of the squad. And then they went, jersey 18, Alan Wynne-Jones. And I went, oh, it was like someone kicked me in the stones. And I remember, to be fair, Drico was sitting quite close to me. He was there, he gave me a tap, he was there, hard luck. And I was there, oh man, he was there, you all right? I was there, I never got tipped off. And he was there, that's poor form, you know what I mean? And I remember like him going, and I remember we went out for that dinner, and someone who was sitting beside me, I can't remember, but David Wallace was on the other side. But Graham Rowntree, to be fair to him, came over and sat in. He was there, he just gave me a tap. He was there, listen, I just heard that no one spoke to you before team announcement. That shouldn't have happened. I just wanted I was, the red mist was in, and I do regret it. I told him to go fuck off. You know what I mean? I was there, wig, jog on, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
fair enough. You know, because it's like the second test, and it's so competitive, and you feel you should be there. Yeah.
And not even that, you know what I mean? Like, of course, like Shawsey in that second test, man. I don't think I've ever seen a second row performance like it. It was incredible. It's not that you had this inflated belief of anything. I just wanted to be squared away. Like, I'll stay with the team. I'll get behind it. But I remember I went to Gats and I was there, can we have a chat? And he was there, not no, but we'll catch up over the next while. And he just kept burning me. Anytime I tried to catch up with him,
okay, well, maybe
he didn't make time for it. And I think you got to be able to have both sides of the conversation. You got
to be fair to Mike, maybe that's what he's hinting at. You know, when he's talking about respect, he's talking about family, and actually it's making him cringe. And that's the tweet that he's put out there. So fair enough, he's probably able to back it up.
Can I just tidy something up? I did go over to Graham Rowntree. Actually, David Wallace, honestly, nearly knocked my nose in. He was there. Do you never speak to him like that again? He had the decency to come up to you. And I'll never forget it. I remember I needed to calm down a little bit, and I went up to him after lunch, and I said, Graham, and I didn't even get it out, man. He just gave me this massive hug. He was there, you're all right, boy. You're all right. And I was there, you know what I mean? It just... We all go through the hurts, but people don't know how much it means, selection and stuff like that. And
boys have been through that today, you know, like Kieran Frawley, another one, young lad, had that drop goal, 2 drop goals against South Africa. Like, he would have got that tap on the shoulder today, and it's the most heart-dropping thing. You know, when you get that call, you kind of... You know it's coming, but you hope it's not going to come, and then all of a sudden you get pulled aside and you're out.
But what you want is the truth, though, isn't it? In those moments. I actually always found Eddie O'Sullivan brilliant for that. I remember one time, it was really close between myself and Malcolm O'Kelly, and he just called me over at one point, and he was there, Malcolm starts this weekend against Wales, and he was there, I can go tell you, work on your left to right pass and work on your defence, all that you already know, but that's not the reason I'm picking Mal this weekend. I'm picking Mal because it's my call. And sometimes this will come back for you as well, you know?
I'm the opposite. I had that with Eddie one time, and I used to always go past Eddie's room, and you just hoped, it was like he was peering out the little peephole going, whichever winger goes past here is getting the nod. And
he would have to be down really low.
He was standing on a box. But I remember going past, and I'm kind of like going down to lunch. I don't want to go past this room, and all of a sudden walk past, the door opens, Tommy, can I have a word? And you're like, And I remember him pulling me into his room, and he had this huge big room, and like a big like dining table and all this sort of stuff, and he was there with the slippers and white socks, right? And I remember he goes, sit down on the sofa there. I sat down, he sat down on the sofa opposite me, and he goes and he sticks his feet up on the table, right, with the slippers and his white socks, and he goes, now I'm going for Rob Kearney this weekend. And a bit like you're saying, yes, it is his call, and it's too hard for him to be, it's just a call, you know, he's just going with his gut. But I was young at the time, and I wanted to know why, because I was like, I've trained my arse off, I am playing brilliant, or I'm playing as well as Rob, I feel I should be picked, and at least give me something to work on, something I need to know. And just you just going on you and your gut instinct is no good to me. Like, what help is that to me? To think that I'm dropped because you just feel that it's the right thing, you know, the way you drank your water. And then it's the fact that you had the white socks with the slippers on. I was just so furious about it.
There's the difference. He was there to you. You're raging going out of the room. He gave me a packet of bubbles, and I'm there. Thanks, Eddie. See you soon.
He's so sound. That fella.
Lovely man.
I don't know what to have at dinner either. Do you know? Do I go for the beef? Do I go for the salmon? It's just whatever I wake up that day. He
gets very cross, but what a lovely man. Do you know what? I don't know. Do you remember it? I think that was for the World Cup. Do you remember I told you there's a shortcut down the Killiney Castle?
Of course I do.
Let's go down this way, Tommy. And that got you dropped.
We were rooming together, and I said, no, Donners, I never go this way. Don't go this way, you'll get dropped. anytime I've ever gone that shortcut, I get dropped because you walk past Eddie's room. Anyway, Donncha, you'd be grand. Out the door, walk down the shortcut, door opens, Tommy can have a word. And I remember going down to dinner that night and you looked at me, you're like, did you get the call? Yes, thanks, Dunners.
Honestly, I legged it down there like a scurrying rat because, like, at that point, everyone's nervous. Any news of selection. So I honestly ran into the team room when I was there. Tommy's done. Tommy's gone.
Listen, I feel for the lads who got that call this week, but listen, there's plenty of opportunities out there as well. So, quickly, let's finish on this. The politicians are bloody everywhere at the minute. Are you into politics?
Yeah, I'd like to keep an eye on it. Yeah, I want to make the right call, so I wouldn't, like, I'm not any expert on it, but yeah, I'm interested.
Well, like, we're talking about the coaches and kind of being diplomatic and making the right call. Like, as a player, who would you have thought that from the teams you played with would have been a good politician? A good and a bad one?
Yeah. Well, I'd break them off into their kind of ministry posts. Like, if you to do agriculture, I'd either have like John Hayes or Tyg Furlong in there. I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Minister of Defence, Gary Ringrose and Simon Easterby, they'd do a job in there,
would they? Yeah, nice. Some like Gary Ringrose sniper tackles and stuff. Yeah, love it.
There you go.
Big time.
Transport, Malcolm O'Kelly, he lived on a barge and he used to have a Vespa to get around Dublin, so I think he'd actually be well.
Kevin the Carrot on his Vespa as well.
Do you know what? No rugby lad could pick the Minister of Education, so leave that to Michael O'Leary. He gets on with all the teachers. Stick him in. And do you know what as well? You Minister for Finance, any scrum half. Have you ever noticed every 9 is so scanty?
So tight, honestly.
So tight.
Trying to get a few quid out of any of those scrum halves. That's exactly the two of them. You can just see Stringer and O'Leary, the two ministers for finance.
What? I've no money. What are you on about?
Unless it's for them. Delighted with themselves. Okay, right. And the top job, I mean, I just think, can you imagine someone like O'Gara or Sexton, those lads?
Yeah.
Like, can you? There'd be no shit. Do you mean like just tell it as it is, and everyone's like, huh? You can't say that.
No, you can't put them in those posts. You genuinely couldn't. People couldn't live with the intensity of it.
Couldn't. Can you imagine? I mean, Simon Harrison, this fella, like they're getting round the country at the minute, some intensity, but it's a different level of honesty that people maybe don't want to hear. I always thought someone like an Owen Redden or Rory Best. To be fair, Bestie was always a bit of a politician.
Very good. Rory Best is the greatest politician, 100%. He's able to keep all the lads on side, all the coaches on side. He's friendly with all the management. Yeah.
Until he has a few drinks and the crazy frog comes out, and that's him done.
Absolutely. Do you remember when he stabbed me with that fork in New Zealand?
And what about, I just remember he used to stick toothpicks into his face. Oh, have you ever seen that party trick?
No, but I still have the scar from that. I remember I had to go up to Gary O'Driscoll, the team doc, with a fork sticking out of my tracksuit going, Doc, will you have a look at this? I wasn't too sure whether to pull it out. And he was there, what happened? I was there. Bestie was coming in after a night out and I went for breakfast with him. Didn't work out well.
He's just one of those lads that goes to sleep drunk and wakes up drunker.
Very true. Nice way of putting it.
Okay, right. Well, there we've gone through our Irish politicians. Anyway, quickly, let's just go Argentina. Always niggle. It's going to be a tough one.
Yes, it's going to be a right one, yeah. And to be fair, do you know what I like about this? All the Leinster lads who have worked with Felipe think they know him. They're about to get a lesson. Ooh. You know what I mean? Honestly, we sparked off him an awful lot, but he's a guy you wanted to have in your dressing room. Yeah, but if he's not pulling on your side, I think those Leinster lads are in for land in terms of he will look to exploit. He's done an amazing job with them. If you look, winning in New Zealand, beating all the top three in terms of Australia and New Zealand at that kind of Tri-Nations. But I think their breakdown is incredible as well. I think
they're just a bogey team as well. But I do think, listen, at home, I reckon we're going to be on the money.
Exactly. Let's all get behind Kevin the Carrot and...
I'm looking forward to the anthems. Looking forward to Michael D coming out
Go
there
on, Michael
and
D.
shaking everyone's hands. Just no sticky spray on the hands, lads, please.
Please have manners, lads.
There we go, Dunners. Listen, I'll see you at the match. Chat to you soon.
Good on you, Tommy.